And in that time, I had some time to kind of think about what I was experiencing living in New York. Like, everything is so fast. I don't think I really fully had time to process how I was feeling about being there. It was like, gotta get up, gotta work, gotta get home, gotta eat. So yeah, when I was able to process and everything, I started writing about those feelings and how I just felt very alone and felt like a bit of an outcast and like I didn't really know what to do. Like everyone else is having a great time except for me. So that's where the city came from. And yeah, I feel like it embodies my struggles with being in a big city really well after being so comfortable with being in the South.
Hi, you're listening to Conversations with Musicians with Leah Roseman. This podcast strives to inspire you through the personal stories of a diversity of musicians with in-depth conversations and great music that reveal the depth and breadth to a life in music. Vahn Black is a vocalist based in Atlanta, and in this episode we focused on her project celebrating Gladys Bentley, including Vahn's fantastic album Petrichor. Born and raised in Detroit, Vahn grew up in a melting pot of music, and this aided her in cultivating her soul-charged, jazz-infused sound, marrying her reverence for vocalists like Sarah Vaughn with her love of producers like J Dilla. We talked about her musical education, her career path, her research into Black history and culture, her joy of collecting vinyl, and some of her other creative outlets. It was interesting to hear about her contrasting experiences with work, life, and music in Detroit, New York, and Atlanta. As a composer, Black has lent her artistry to various art mediums from short films to interactive performance art. In 2023, she was selected to perform at NPR's Tiny Desk on the Road tour stop in Atlanta. And for those listeners who are fans of Vahn Black and for those who are discovering her, I hope you'll enjoy this conversation, which is punctuated with her music. Like all my episodes, you can watch this on my YouTube channel or listen to the podcast on all the podcast platforms. And I've also linked the transcript to my website, leahroseman.com. The podcast theme music was commissioned from composer Nick Cole, and you can use the timestamps to navigate the episode. Before we jump into our conversation, I wanted to let you know that this weekly podcast is in season 4, and that I send out an email newsletter where you can get access to sneak peeks of upcoming guests and be inspired by highlights from the archive. Have a look at the description of this episode, where you'll find all the links, including the support link to buy this independent podcaster a coffee. Now to Vahn Black. Hey, Vahn, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I must say I love your voice, and I had listened to your music quite a bit before, like with this most recent album, Petrichor. I hadn't known about Gladys Bentley, so I want you to speak to her and her experience. But it was interesting as a listener, because I was thinking a lot of your listeners, especially on streaming services who don't hear the whole album, they may not realize what the songs are about and the backstory.
So with the Gladys Bentley project, well, first of all, Gladys Bentley was this amazing blues singer and pianist and actress and comedian. She was everything. She left home at a really young age at 16 to go to New York and pursue music. And one day she heard of an audition to play piano at a bar, and they were like, they wanted to be a man. And she was like, I can play as good as any other man. So she put on a suit, went down there, and long story short, she got the gig. And she became this huge star, and she was popular for doing these raunchy songs and recreating things with a little dirty twist. And during the Prohibition era and all these other things, all that stuff became criminalized. And so there were some issues with her being able to perform. And so she moved and all that. And the shows just weren't popping as they used to be. And, then she eventually releases this article called I'm a Woman Again, basically denouncing everything that she had done prior in her career, from dating other women to wearing a suit and referring to herself as a husband. She had claimed that she had found this newfound life and was a new person because of hormone therapy, which of course is very harmful for so many reasons. And a lot of people talk about her story and kind of, project their own thoughts onto her and say, well, maybe she was just doing it because she needed the money or because of the era and she didn't want to go to jail, which could be true. But also I think it's nice to just, accept her for who she is and take her at her word and just, let her be who she was. So yeah, that's a bit about Gladys Bentley. And I just really wanted to tell that story through a project because she's not talked about as much as other people from that era. And I think her story is really important.
Yeah, and so I think it was like in the 1920s when she was at the height of her popularity, the Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah, about the 1930s. Yep.
Okay, a little later. But like she was out and proud and earning lots of money and playing in as a black artist, she was playing in white clubs before other people as well.
Yes, yes, she was ahead of her time.
And I read that article in Ebony magazine. It's really heartbreaking, and there's this subtext to it. I really found it very moving.
Yeah, it's super heartbreaking and super moving, especially when you go to later editions and you read the responses, because people in magazines, of
Mm.
course, they used to write responses to the articles. And it makes you even sadder because it's like, wow, there are so many other people that felt like her and didn't want to feel the way that they felt within their gender or their sexuality. And they really believed that there was something that could change that. So it is really heartbreaking to read her side and to read the responses to that.
Yeah. So I believe that was 1952, that
Yes.
article. And she died not long after of pneumonia. So unfortunately, didn't get to see. Actually, she would have had to wait a long time for changes in society, I have to say, after that point.
Yeah, would have been a long wait. I just always wonder what it would be like had she lived a little bit longer, though. I mean,
Mm.
towards the end of her life, when she passed, she was in the process of becoming a minister. And so, I mean, there's no telling, what could
Mm.
have happened where she would have gone in life. And all we have is, wonder and, we got to build a story around it if we want to.
Yeah, so in the article she says she was writing a book, but I guess that never came to fruition.
Yeah, it's unclear whether or not she was joking or if she was actually
Mm.
saying she was going to write a book because when she said it on I forget the show, but she said it on a show.
Yeah.
And she kind of said it in passing and people were laughing. I don't know if they were laughing at the fact that, ooh, she thinks she can write a book or, ooh, it's called this thing and that's the title of a movie. So it's unsure. And I really wish there was something laying around though.
But we can hear her tremendous voice. There's recordings.
Yes, yes, there are a lot of recordings, well, enough recordings that have been left behind. She did a few sides for a few different companies. And yeah, thankfully, we're able to enjoy her thanks to the work of so many different archivists across the country.
So when did you first hear about her and hear her singing?
I believe I first heard about Gladys Bentley when I was in undergrad. I was at Spelman College and I was doing some work with the LGBTQ rights organization on the campus, Afrikiti. And during their Pride Week, there were posters going around. The theme of the year was Harlem Renaissance, and they really wanted to highlight figures from the time who were out and open and queer. And one of the people that they featured was Gladys Bentley, and I just remember being like, "That's a nice suit. And that's a nice top. I really enjoy that look. It's really great."
Yeah.
And kind of didn't really pay it too much attention. I was like, this is cool, but I didn't really do any digging. A
Mm.
few years later, I believe I came across her from something. Somebody mentioned her or brought her up because people are starting to talk about her more in recent years. Um, and I started to read her story and everything, and I was like, wow, this is really fascinating. And some pieces of her story kind of felt familiar with
Mm.
struggling with body image and fat phobia and transphobia and queerphobia and all those things. And through that, I, found that there were actual recordings online, and I just fell in love with her voice and the ability that she has to imitate a trumpet. It's just amazing. And her piano playing is out of this world. She doesn't get enough credit for being an amazing pianist. And yeah, I just going down that rabbit hole slowly over time has really been fulfilling. And I still learn more. The little that's about her, the little that's available about her today, I still learn stuff when I go down the
Hmm.
rabbit hole. So yeah.
Okay. Where are you finding more information?
Through different websites, different archives. There are some databases that have collected where different things for different people, specifically like queer Black folk, are across the country. So different databases like Queer Music Histories and Black Queer Archives, I believe it's called. Just different places scattered across the country.
Okay. Well, I mean, some listeners will want to do some digging too, so that's good to know the resources. So if we can get into your album Petrichor, one of the most beautiful words in the English language, I have to say. Great album name. But you actually didn't call any of the tracks Petrichor, just the album.
Yeah, it's so funny. I really wanted to like move with this theme of water and storms and change, but I didn't write a song called Petrichor. I don't really know how that happened, but I still thought it fit the theme really well with it being, the onset of a storm or the onset of change. And the project pretty much is inspired by the high times of her career and the good times that she had prior to discovering the things that she wrote about in that article. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, celebration of Gladys. So it's a fantastic album, really. Congratulations.
Thank
Not
you.
just the power of your singing, the way you use rhythm, and of course you produced it, all the layering. It's really, really great. One track I was hoping we could include is Too Soon.
Yeah, sure. So Too Soon is actually my favorite song from the project. And it's one of the last ones that I created, actually. It was kind of a last minute thing. And I was really inspired by my Baptist upbringing and being from up south, as some of us call it, being from Detroit, and really embodying um, that deep gospel influence that I've, really been trying to call on in recent years. Just thinking about John P. Key, Hezekiah Walker, and I just really wanted to get real gritty and country. And the lyrics, the theme behind Too Soon is I was imagining Gladys being in the club and as she was, famous for, flirting with someone in the audience and being a little salacious. And I just really wanted to kind of tell that story and imagine what it would be like to be in the club while she's flirting with someone and singing with somebody and wooing them.
Vahn generously recorded a special live version of her composition Too Soon, which you can also hear on her album Petrichor.
Is it too soon to say I want you as my lifelong thing in a diamond ring? Will my name be fit? Put your name on this. I don't know what to do. Think I'm in love with you. I'm known for the joking, but this time I'm for real. This soul has been vacant, and you just might be the missing piece. I know there's some talking, but how I'm known for playing sweet. No, they said to protect you, cause you just might fall in love with me. I don't mean to be pushy or annoying with my questioning about your position, but you need to know my standing. I know what I want, I'm shouting out. So come on, baby, and let me know right now. Is it too soon to say I want you as my lifelong thing in a diamond ring? Will my name be fit? Put your name on this. I don't know what to do. Think I'm in love with you. Know plenty good lovers, and my dear, you're not the same. I love the charm in your sweet voice and the taste of your name. If you think you're holding secrets, you just gave me the key. Something in your eyes says you're curious about me. Oh, I don't mean to be pushy or annoying with my questioning about your position, but you need to know my standing. I know what I want, and I'm shouting out. So come on, baby, let me know right now. Is it too soon to say I want you as my lifelong thing in a diamond ring? Will my round, 'cause in you I found something real, really real. You know just what I feel, and your moving tells that you know damn well that this one is for you. So tell me, what's the deal? Oh, oh, baby, oh, is it too soon to say I love you? Is it too soon to say I wanna be with you and only you? Hey, say, won't you be mine? Won't you be mine?
Well, thanks for sharing that. You had just talked about being from Detroit and you use this expression up south. Is that because of the migration of the Black community?
Yes, yes. Because of the migration, with a lot of people specifically being from Georgia, I feel in Detroit. Some people from Mississippi, of course, like all over, but a lot being from Georgia. Some people call it up south because there's a lot of country things about the city to some extent and about some people who have been in the city for a few generations. So some people like to refer to it as up south.
Okay, never heard that. So you're based in Atlanta now,
Yes.
and they're both really big cities for music. What's the scene like for you?
Being in Atlanta has been interesting because there's so much music all the time. Like it's not New York, but it's not, a quaint city with nothing going on. And there's so much from different genres. Like there's a folk scene, there's a heavy R&B scene, and of course a heavy hip hop trap scene. And for me, even though it's really exciting to see so many people doing amazing things here on the scene, it's kind of been hard for me to find where I fit, and kind of find my tribe. Like after college, everybody leaves, they go back home, they go elsewhere. And so I kind of lost that community that I had, and I had to rebuild in a way. And so I've kind of been moving out of the intention of always, meeting new people and trying to learn new things. Because yeah, it's just been very odd for me, a little challenging. Like I remember a few years ago, like at the height of trap music, whenever I was booked for a show, I was usually the only singer and the rest were rappers. And I would start scatting and everybody would look at me like, what is she doing? But yeah, it's been very interesting.
Hmm. I was thinking in a previous album of yours, what is it, Temporary Colors, you have this song, The City, and you have a lyric, The Meaning of Belonging. Actually, I really like that tune. Maybe we could include that as well if you want to
Yeah.
talk to that album a little bit.
Yeah. So Temporary Colors actually was my first full body of work. I started some of the songs prior to the pandemic, but the pandemic really pushed me to complete it. And because I was spending so much time to myself, I did a lot of, like everybody else, the cliche, I did a lot of, thinking and sitting with myself. Um, so those things came out of that, and I was coming from New York, and Corona had hit, and so I came back to Georgia for a little bit just to kind of decompress. I had gotten laid off from my job, and in that time, I had some time to kind of think about what I was experiencing living in New York. Like, everything is so fast. I don't think I really fully had time to process how I was feeling about being there. It was like, gotta get up, gotta work, gotta get home, gotta eat. So yeah, when I was able to process and everything, I started writing about those feelings and how I just felt very alone and felt like a bit of an outcast and like I didn't really know what to do. Like everyone else is having a great time except for me. So that's where the city came from. And yeah, I feel like it embodies my struggles with being in a big city really well after being so comfortable with being in the South.
This is The City from Vahn Black's album Temporary Colors.
This is my sentiment, questioning if being here is truly fulfilling. I feel like I'm out of bound, wanting to know the meaning of belonging. Pacing with my head hanging down, circling like a merry-go-round, wandering around in the city, wandering around in the city, wandering around in the city, wandering around in the city. Grayscale of cloudy skies shadow the way to hide solid ground. Tracing old steps of mine, searching for remains of shattered wishes. Voices of so many around, paying me no mind while wandering around in the city, 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 wandering around in the city.
So you chose to go back to Atlanta rather than Detroit after New York.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually have a very complicated relationship with Detroit. Like, it's a great place. I would not be who I am today without it. But I guess, I have so much family that's left. It doesn't really feel the same to me. I feel very uprooted whenever I'm there. But Atlanta, which actually my maternal side actually has roots in Georgia, it's become home in a very specific way that I feel like is hard to describe. Like, even though, like I said, a lot of friends have left and people pass, it's just something that feels very comfortable and comforting here.
Mm.
So I felt like it was right to come back.
Yeah. And you have a song, Old Redford, is kind of about Detroit, right?
Yeah, it is about Detroit. Yep.
So Detroit, is the birthplace of so many different styles of music. And growing up, you also studied classical, right?
I did. When I was coming up, I attended Detroit School of Arts and I started to get some classical training, started to do the Baroque and classical and madrigals. And it was so much fun. I had so much fun. And we even got to sing at Carnegie Hall. And it really inspired me to want to teach music, which that changed later on. But it was a very influential and impactful time in my life to get that classical training and to be around so many musicians.
What was that school like? Like, how big was it? How did it sort of run in terms of, was it half academic and half arts?
Yeah, so we still had to do our core stuff, so the math and social studies and stuff. but a big part of it was still the arts. And there were sometimes, the teachers would try to work in the arts with the regular, core curriculum.
Okay.
And, the school, the building itself was large. The student body was small.
Okay.
So, everybody had seen or knew everybody, you knew everybody's business. And in a way, like it created a really good creative community because we knew, like, if I want to do this project and I need drums, I can hit up this guy. And if I want to do this dance, but I need this kind of track to move like this, I can go to that guy. So it was really nice to uh, be around so many people in such a close proximity and just really learn the importance of community building and, creating that circle and moving together.
Yeah. So I'm assuming there's dance and music and acting
Yeah,
and visual arts?
yeah, dance, singing, there's band, orchestra, music technology, radio and television, and fine arts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, just a short break from the episode, which I hope you're enjoying so far. If you want to check out over 100 episodes you may have missed, in addition to your podcast player or YouTube, I have an extensive website, leahroseman.com, with show notes, transcripts, the complete catalog of episodes, and you can sign up there for my weekly newsletter to get access to sneak peeks of upcoming guests. Please do share your favorite episodes with your friends, follow me on social media, and share my posts. And if you can spare a few dollars to help support the series, that would be amazing, and you can find that link in the show notes. I'm an independent podcaster, and I really do need the help of my listeners. Now back to the episode. So you were inspired at that time to want to be a music teacher because you had great teachers?
Yes, I had some of the best teachers in the land. I will stand by that forever. Connie Malabed and Cheryl Valentine, they were amazing with, working with us and meeting us where we were, but still being stern and being like, y'all need to get this music right. And I think because they had lived so much life through music and they had taught for so long and taught so many different kinds of students and people, they just knew how to handle us. They knew how to hold us. They knew when to be strict. Um, and no matter how hard the music was, we always got it. And I don't think every music instructor can do that, can teach really hard music, especially to children who don't have that experience and don't know how to read music and have never sung with proper technique. But they always met us where we were and always got us to where we needed to be. And it was just really inspiring to see them work with different people. And it was life changing, honestly, really life changing.
So when you went to Carnegie, was it in a choir?
Yes, it was actually with the ladies ensemble at Detroit School of Arts, the Lady Achievers, and we were one of the headlining children's choirs, children's youth choirs.
Hmm.
And so it's like, you sing, and then there's like some other choirs that are featured, and then you sing together with other choirs in the honors choir.
Okay. And was that your first time to New York when you went to that trip?
Yeah, actually, that was my very first time in New York. It was very exciting because I had never, like, like at school we'd go on like these HBCU, these historically Black college university tours throughout the South on a bus, but I'd never like really seen a big city before outside of Detroit. So it was really exciting, a little bit overwhelming. We had so much fun. It was really fun, very memorable.
I'd read somewhere that you consider yourself a memory worker in terms of preserving Black culture. Did you also study library science?
Yeah, I'm actually in library school right now, working my way through. I'll be so happy when I am done. But yeah, I'm currently in a program at this moment working towards my MLIS, and it is very enriching and very fun, for lack of better words, to finally learn about the things that I've wanted to do for so long and expand on the concepts that I've been reading about for so long and being able to put words to some things that I've been doing or been seeing. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on the way AI is impacting research?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been talking about that. And, I think the big thing is like, AI is harmful, and which it can be, like all things can be harmful. But I think, as it grows and expands, it will be more helpful, especially with younger people learning how to do things with AI. It could possibly make them better researchers and, help them think in different ways that maybe they weren't thinking before. But then at the same time, if they're not, taught how to properly use these things, it could also make them, not think as hard as they could and rely on AI a bit too much. But I think, the future of AI could be really bright and it could be used for some really great things. We just have to figure out how to, you know, work the ethics out, make it like ethically good.
Hmm.
Because I think that's like a big part of what makes it, you know, hard to like AI for some people. Like the ethics are kind of shoddy sometimes.
Yeah, I read an article recently. I think it was the editorial in the Walrus magazine, a Canadian magazine, and they were saying that I wasn't aware of this. These new search engines based on AI will give you a summary of what you're looking for, but there'll be no sources, so you can't go back to the links, right?
Yeah, yeah, it gives you so many things, and it's like, where did you get it from? It's like it just, takes everything and it makes a big meatloaf, but it doesn't give you the ingredients. And the meatloaf is good, but I want to know how to make it.
Yeah. So when you did your undergrad, was it in jazz? Was it in like what was your specialty?
In undergrad, I just studied general vocal performance, and at the time, it was mostly classical. I did some musical theater as well. That program is actually expanding right now, so they're doing more things outside of the classical realm, which is really great. But yeah, I was mostly doing that, and I was such a slight brat because I was like, I love this, but can I not do another Italian aria? I would love to not do another Italian aria. I would love to not sing in German for one time. And at some point I asked enough to where they were like, okay, all right, we're trying to build a composition track anyway, do the composition track. And they let me do my senior recital with all original compositions. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been freed from German dialects. Oh, it's awesome. So yeah, that the classical music was still a really big part of my um, degree process, but yeah, I sprinkled in some other things.
Very cool. Good for you. So this final recital, was it what style were your songs in at that point?
It was mostly like soul things, very inspired by music technology and electronic music. I did a lot of live looping with my vocals. I used the iPad to do like some chord programming and some drum programming and stuff because I didn't have a drummer. I just did not have a drummer. Couldn't find one at that time for some reason. But I was doing drum programming and synth and stuff like that. Yeah, just, trying to pull together some of the influences outside of school.
Okay. Now you've submitted to NPR's Tiny Desk a couple of times.
Hmm.
Really great little, great videos, and also you were featured in their On the Road series. They had like a sort of a block party.
Yeah, so they had a block party in Atlanta, and it was a part of the tour that they do with the winners. So the winners go on tour, and in every city, they have the different acts that submitted, and they choose a few, and they open up for the winners. And so we were chosen, and that was super exciting. It's honestly probably one of the biggest shows that I played to date. And it was just such a great experience being outside. It was too hot, but nice and sunny, and so many people came out, and I got to meet so many of the people who submitted and who were performing, and they were all really great. It was great to just, connect with so many good, Atlanta artists and perform with a band because I don't get to perform with a band often. And it was just a really great experience, just being able to bring all of them together. We all went to high school together. And so it was a really nice moment to just be able to bring them all to Atlanta and just come together and make music for once.
Okay. That's interesting about the band. That video, Care Too Much, that was just released a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah.
Would we be able to edit that into this episode, or would you rather just use it? Yeah?
Yeah, you can use that.
This is Care Too Much, one of Vahn Black's Tiny Desk concert submissions, and the video on her YouTube is linked in the description of this podcast.
Mirror on the wall, tell me who's the best illusion of them all. Truth be told, I'm really tired now of trying to keep it all together. Wow, I'm breaking down. Maybe this is all in my head, and maybe I have made my own bed, a prisoner to my own obsession with perfection. I'd wish to have contentment instead. Tired of living a lie, wondering how I am in their eyes. Out of touch, reaching for nothing more than temporal, slowly fading inside. 'Cause I care too much, care too much, I care too much. I care too much, I care too much, I care too much, care too much. Wish I didn't care so much, yeah. It's so hard to keep up with my lies. I can barely recognize myself when I sacrifice soul and body for the trivial. Don't know how to stop it when I go this far, and it's got me thinking that maybe this is all in my head, and maybe I have made my own bed, a prisoner to my own obsession with perfection. I'd wish to have contentment instead. Tired of living a lie, editing these fragments of my life. Out of touch, reaching for nothing more than temporal, slowly fading inside. 'Cause I care too much, 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 care too much. And I know damn well know that I care too much. Oh, care too much, care too much, care too much, I care too much, I care too much, I care too much, I care. Maybe this is all in my head, and maybe I have made my own bed, a prisoner to my own obsession with perfection. I wish to have contentment instead. Hey, wonder how it feels to be free, living without masks of deceit, disguising myself just to get a little piece of this world. I wonder how would that feel?
does this trumpet player you work with?
Trunino Lowe.
Yeah, helps you with the arrangements, or are you doing all the arrangements?
He does the arrangements.
Okay.
There's some things I have some ideas and I'll send him the track and he's like, "That's actually nice," and I'm like, "No, you can change it." So like 98% of it is his own arrangement. It's his wonderful brain. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Now, I've heard you do some stuff online, incredible performances of spirituals. In fact, you have a track out, right?
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. I recently did a cover of I've Been Butte.
So, are you going to release an album of spirituals, or maybe?
Maybe something might be happening.
And I think you were singing with a baritone ukulele
Yeah,
in one of your.
so on that track I was actually with my regular semi-hollow six-string guitar. But I have been playing a lot of baritone lately. So
Yeah, I saw something with you doing that. I mean, you play a number of instruments, right? Keyboard and.
yeah, not so much piano. I know I knew enough to graduate. But yeah, mostly strings like guitar, bass, ukuleles, stuff like that. Some percussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your vinyl collection.
Ooh, yes, my vinyl collection. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I started getting serious about vinyl collecting maybe in 2018 or like 2019 or somewhere in between there. The first records I ever received were inherited from my father. When he passed, there was a big box of records, and my mom gave them to me and was like, "Here's your dad's records." And I was like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" And I just went through the boxes, and we had a record player in the house, and I listened to so many of them, and I got familiar with Duke Ellington, BB King, and yeah, I was like, wow, records are cool. Never really did much with them. Those first listenings started when I was like 10 years old. Never did much with the records. Fast forward to 2018, I was working in my college's music library and they were cleaning up house. They had a lot of old things, and the library was stacked with records. And the administrative assistant was like, "Hey, clean out these things, organize them. Also, you can have whatever you see." And I was like, "Ooh, stuff. I don't have a record player of my own, but I'll take you up on that." So I went through, I kept some things. That's when I got really into Folkways records. So I took home a lot of Folkways records, set them aside, didn't do much with them. I left all my records in Georgia when I moved to New York. When I came back and I figured I was staying, I was like, let me organize these. I started organizing them, reading stuff, and I was like, I know I love albums and I collected CDs, but like records are even cooler. Like the information you get on them, just being able to feel them, the information that you get on the record itself, like knowing like which pressing it was. And so I found a flea market near me, and out of curiosity, I just went in and I started looking at stuff. And long story short, I got obsessed, and now I'm at a large number of records. Not large enough, but I'm at a large number of records. And I continue to collect like National Record Store Days this weekend, and I'm gonna be there. And yeah, I've said a lot, but yes, that's a little bit about my record collection.
Well, I have more questions. Are you cataloging them or organizing them?
So I organize them by last name. So it's not organized by genre or anything. So I do last name. If it's an artist that's just one name, like Prince, that will go with the P's. And yeah, that's the way I organize them right now. I'm considering maybe when I grow my collection even more, like I think now I'm at around 200. So if I get like above 400, 500, maybe I'll do like a genre situation, but it's so small right now that it's easier by last name.
Do you wash your records? Do you have the whole thing going?
I am actually planning on investing in a record cleaner very soon. Like I need to do that because yeah, especially the things that I get, most of the things I get, I have my selected, stores that I go to, and they take really good care of the records that they bring in. So I haven't really had to do much lately. But the things I got from my dad, oh boy. They need some care. So I'm definitely going to be getting a record player soon.
Yeah, my partner, he's really into that, and he built. I can send you. I think he made something that was cheaper than what you could buy, but it's like this whole system, and it makes such a difference.
That's
Like
awesome.
when you get these, actually, pretty much any record that's been lying around that's not brand new, when you clean it, it's quite amazing. And I never knew you could wash records. I grew up with LPs, and no one was washing records back then.
It was just here's the record and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing because you think a record is unplayable, but then you wash it and it's a whole new world. Like if you
Yeah.
can't feel the scratch, you're fine. Just wash it.
So have you had any cool discoveries, like artists you didn't know about before that you've bought records?
Yes. I'm a big Prince fan, but at some point I didn't know about his posse. And one day I went to Wax and Facts in Atlanta and I was going through the funk and soul section and I saw this pink record in a clear case. I was like, it's hot pink. What is this? And why does this man have a Jerry curl and why does he look like Prince? And so I bought it, I took it home, I played it. I was like, this sounds like Prince. This is weird. I looked it up and I was like, oh, Jesse Johnson. Who is this? And I learned who Jesse Johnson was and how him and Prince had this mini feud and all of that. So that was very exciting. And it took me down a rabbit hole of, the revolution and all of Prince's eras and the band members and stuff like that. So that's got to be one of the most exciting things that I found, outside of like the folkways records that I find and the musicians that they chose to record for the field recordings and stuff like that.
So who was Jesse Johnson?
So Jesse Johnson, I believe he was Prince's guitarist. I forget the years. This is so bad. I'm such a bad Prince fan, but he was his guitarist at some point, and I think it was Purple Rain era, maybe. Yeah, and at some point, I believe they had a falling out, and he wasn't in the band anymore. I think Prince got a new band, and if I'm not mistaken, like Prince, he kind of did a thing where some artists, it was like suggestions, like you should do this, you should do that, or he produced them, or like, he would co-produce with them. And so a lot of things like the time, a lot of things came out with that Minneapolis sound, or they just seemed, pretty close to something that Prince would do. So the Jesse Johnson situation and the aesthetic from like the early 80s or mid 80s or whatever time period is kind of like a result of that.
Okay. I was just thinking about Smithsonian Folkways. I'm actually quite grateful to them because I interviewed Verna Gillis, and she was one of these people going into the field and recording music in Africa and the Caribbean and United States and all over. And we were able to use some of those tracks in my episode with her of these field recordings she'd made.
That is so awesome. I love that. I love folkways so much. I'm grateful for them too. And there's so much that I continue to learn every year, every month, every time I go record shopping. And I love it. Love it.
Do you think cassettes are going to come back?
They're trying and I don't believe in it. They're trying. I know a lot of bands are releasing cassettes and selling them pretty cheap. That's like the incentive to like buy them, but like they're not even selling cassette players. Like,
That is the problem.
like you can buy a record player with a cassette player on it, but why would you do that? Like I don't know. They're trying. I don't It's funny. I actually bought a cassette a few months ago just because I like to have any kind of physical copy of an album. I prefer records, but if it's a physical copy, I'll get it just to say I have it because I also
Hmm.
have like this secret fear of one day digital streaming platforms will die
Yeah.
and I need to have all of my music. So I went to a flea market and I actually found a cassette of Tracy Chapman's New Beginning. So I bought it. I don't know what it sounds like. The time I bought a cassette before that was Stevie Wonder's Hotter Than July, and it sounded terrible. So
Maybe it had gotten stretched. I mean, from what I understand, tapes are actually very good archives, much better than CDs, which can so
mm.
easily be
Oh
scratched.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, who knows? And maybe because they're safer than CDs and can't get scratched, maybe they will come back and be as popular as vinyl.
I know what you mean by the streaming services. Of course, there's so much that's wrong about the way musicians aren't compensated, but also, I mean, they decide what goes out there and what they might take off. And people think, oh, everything that's been recorded is digitized. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's cool and also unfortunate how much we rely on digital streaming platforms. I'm kind of grateful for it because, there's so much that I've discovered and rediscovered
Mhm.
because I don't have access to certain CDs or, the physical copies don't exist anymore. At the same time, it's like money and access and rights, and so it's like it's a torn kind of thing. Yeah.
Mhm. So back to your Gladys Bentley project. So Petrichor, there was another track I particularly loved. We talked about Too Soon, Lucid Dreams as well.
Yeah, Lucid Dreams is actually one of the first things that I wrote for the project. I wrote it, I think, in 2020. And yeah, I really wanted to write a song about memory and just how sometimes when you research something and learn about something, things can feel very real to you and you feel like you're there and you wish you were there. And that's kind of how I feel about when I read about the Harlem Renaissance and, different people who are around Gladys Bentley and just listening to her work. So, yeah, I really wanted to make a song that embodied those feelings.
This is Lucid Dreams from the album Petrichor.
Have a little talk with me. Let me tell you what I've been seeing. It rings true like a memory. But you said that I ain't familiar to you. I think you're playing tricks on me. Cause you've been living in my mind rent free. Easy fallacy, a history on my brain. 24 hours in the day. You scintillating eyes and smile. How could I forget about? No, for certain I know what you are. Truly unreal. Why not believe it, honey? Guessing that it's only me. A reverie, wishful thinking. Yes, I was having one of those visions, seeing clear, not sure what is real. Thin line between reality and lucid dreams. Give me just a little more time, 'cause this is really driving me wild. 'Cause the feeling's so strong, no shed, never alone, don't imagine. Could it be prophecy or hallucination? If you're wondering to take your time, 'cause I'm very patient. Yeah. We maybe in another yesterday of maybe in the place where minds wander. Seems I can't remember. Truly I surrender and accept that I was having another one of those. Lucid dreams, you're my shooting star. You struck my heart, traveling through me at light speed. Oh, to be dancing with shadows and symbols of fantasy. Forgive me if I can't to let it go through. I'll refuse. Don't tell me it's not for real. I could just not feel the way that I do. Ooh, hey. I swear that I've seen it all before. Thin line between reality and lucid dreams.
In terms of this Gladys Bentley project, you had planned a couple more albums. Are you still going to go there?
Yeah, the plan is there. There's something I actually want to release in the fall called Walk in the Rain, which is basically representative of Gladys going through the changes that she talked about in the article, going through the feelings that she was having of feeling alone and how everything had changed from everything being really good and being at the top of the world to her not being able to, get booked for shows and people not showing up to those shows and, her lovers maybe leaving her. Um, so that project is going to cover that. And then the last one I want to be about, the newfound joys that she claims in the article. Her living her life in her new body, in her new mind, in her new liberation, to say. Um, so yeah, I intend to keep those. Things happen, who knows? But that's my intention is to keep on going.
And will you be hiring more of a band, or is it going to be more self
Um,
doing the different leaves?
Yeah, it's a mix. I love live music. Love it, love it, love it. It's just been challenging, kind of coordinating with people and things of that nature. But these next few projects are definitely more um, other human oriented. Like it's not just me, because I can do the things and I enjoy doing the things, but it's not out of control or it's not out of just wanting to do that. To some extent, it's kind of out of necessity. So it's the hope and the plan is definitely to work with more instrumentalists and musicians. So it's coming.
Great. And we had talked a little bit about playlists and, that these are concept albums. And many of your listeners, you have lots and lots of streams. They're just hearing maybe a track that's on a separate playlist.
Mhm.
It's part of the deal, right?
Yeah, it happens. I think about that a lot. I'm like, dang, they just hearing this one song but that's fine as long as they, feel the feelings out of the one, if
Hmm.
people visit the original work, that's great. If they don't, it's whatever. They're still experiencing it and gaining something out of it. To me, the most important thing is if people gain something from it. So
Yeah.
it's whatever.
You talked about when you were in school learning, arias in different languages. And I find it, when I listen to a song in another language, if the emotion's there, if the singer's doing a good job, you don't really need to understand the poetry.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that really drew me to, I don't know, for lack of better terms, world music when I was younger. In high school, I started listening to a lot of music from Egypt and a lot of music from East Africa. And I was like, I don't know what they're saying, but I'm feeling all of the emotions. I am here with them. And it really taught me a lot about painting a song, like telling the story through your voice, using dynamics. If you can see somebody using your face, using your body, yeah, you can definitely learn a lot from listening to songs in different languages. It's so helpful.
So, did you know you wanted to be a singer even when you were thinking you might be teaching primarily to earn your living? Was that still your identity as a singer?
Oh yeah, it was always the plan to be a singer. It's just when I got to high school and I was talking to my, counselor and she was getting my schedule together. I was like, I'm gonna go to AMDA for musical theater and I'm gonna be a singing star. And she was like, you need a real job. And I was like, well, okay, noted. Guess I'm gonna be a music teacher. So it's like it was something I was passionate about, but also it was out of practicality. So I always knew that I was going to be a singer and be an artist and do my own thing. It was just a matter of, as people say now, being able to pay for that, being able to pay for that different part of my life and my creative journey.
Yeah. When you were in New York, were you doing music?
Yeah, I was. I actually went to New York um, to do a program where I was teaching in a public school in Queens. And so that mostly took up my time. I probably only did two solo performances while I was in New York. I was trying to figure out how to really like get in there, get out there on the scene, but it never really materialized. And I was only there for like 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like in that school working with the kids?
There were a lot of fun times. It was fun. I enjoy my students. I miss them a lot sometimes. But, teachers are not treated well. They're not paid well enough. Um, there's not enough in place to, in my opinion, protect them from certain things. And so, like, being able to experience that was really interesting, and it definitely gave me even more respect for my choir teachers and my other teachers in general that I really, liked and the ones who inspired me. So there were a lot of ups and downs, but the joys I still carry with me, and they were very helpful. It was a helpful experience.
Yeah. So do you have creative outlets outside of music?
Yes. I do a lot of things because I have too much energy. But I actually am a fiber artist. I mean, I don't know if I can call myself a fiber artist, but I enjoy crocheting, knitting, tapestry sometimes. But I'm a big time crocheter. Like I'm crocheting every day, all the time. Multitasking, crocheting. It's my life. I have so much yarn. It's embarrassing.
Are you selling some of your fiber art?
No, no. I always fear if I decide to start selling it, I'll hate it. And my peace is in working with yarn, and I want to keep it that way. So,
Okay. I was looking at different fiber artists because I'm releasing an album with my band Collected Strands, and because of the name of our band, and like, I was trying to find some art that would go with that. So I was connecting with people, and so it was just cool when you look up fiber art, the things that come up. Like people make fiber with paper, but it's different than paper art. It's very interesting, all the things.
yeah, it's a wide world. That's why I was like, I don't know if I can call myself a fiber artist, but it's like, such a wide range of things. Like it's
Yeah.
all the way from people who make amigurumi, little stuffed crochet animals, to people who, like you said, make stuff with paper. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, and I found people doing crochet stuff that where it's like plants, miniature plants, but out of crochet.
I actually made a few plants. I made my partner a bouquet of flowers. I crocheted some, like those it's a succulent, the pearl succulent.
Hmm.
Crocheted some of those. And I tried to do some. Oh, I do some bookmarks. I do sunflower bookmarks with the leaves. Oh my god, it's so much fun.
Do you do your own patterns, or are you always going off somebody else's
I
pattern?
do my own. My friends always talk about me. They're like, she does not want to follow a pattern. I'm like, I don't. It's just so much focus, and like I like to zone out when I crochet or just listen to an audio book, and I feel like if I'm reading a pattern, I can't really like, you know, do my own thing. So if something is really cool, I'll follow a pattern, but I can't say the last time I followed a pattern. I just kind of forget.
Well, I know a good podcast you can listen to while you crochet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll be listening.
So just a couple more things. First of all, I'm always curious about people's creative process, especially if you're an improviser and where that crosses over into recording your ideas and working it out.
Yeah, so it depends on the day or like how I'm feeling. At some point I was mostly, in my car on the freeway and I'm like, ooh, idea, record. But I haven't recorded a voice memo since like February. It's really strange. And lately, my mode of laying down ideas has been just picking up the ukulele and typing the chords and typing the words. And for some reason, I just remember, or I just immediately go straight to Ableton and just record it in Ableton. But it's pretty random. Like, I could be reading something and I'm just like, I like that word. I'm going to sing that word and I'll sing that word. Or it could be something like, I really enjoy sampling. I like loops. So I could hear a nice loop and I'm like, na 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 na. Cool, let's use this loop. So it's pretty random. Like it depends on the day.
Yeah, that's great. I am always curious about generating ideas and building on creativity, which brings me to my final question. We started with the Gladys Bentley project. Now, as a songwriter, particularly, you need inspiration. You're writing lyrics, So do you already have ideas? Do you have an idea book for like the projects after that or around that or other historical figures?
Yes, actually. I should keep a book, but I actually have a nice amount of projects planned around different figures. And it kind of just starts off with me usually like reading a history about something or looking through somebody's archives. And I'm like, I want to tell this story. I want to do this. I want to do that. So like I'll type something down, I'll write something down. And yeah, I try to like add as much detail as I can initially. And then like I'll get ideas along the way and I'll come back to it a few months later and write some more ideas and then I'll revisit it. Yeah, so yeah, it is to some extent kind of like an idea book and just, coming back to it whenever it feels right. Yeah.
Wonderful. So thanks so much for this today and for sharing your music as well.
Thank you for having me. It was great talking to you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please do share this with your friends and check out episodes you may have missed at leahroseman.com. If you could buy me a coffee to support this series, that would be wonderful. The link is in the description. Have a wonderful week.